Good evening and welcome to LawSikho's thought newspaper analysis for the 23rd of May 2023. Now, in today's article, the tussle over services in Delhi, which has been taken from the Hindu, we continue with yesterday's theme, that is the tussle that is going on between the central government and the state government as to who gets to decide more control over the IAS officers stationed in Delhi. For the next two segments, we will have the news update and the legal news for the day. So, in our article today, the tussle over services in Delhi, we go back to the Constitution bench, which held that the Delhi government can make laws and administer civil services within the state, and it is the state's right to do so. The role of the lieutenant governor was limited to the public order, police, and land issues. However, the center brought forward an ordinance that balances local and domestic interests of the people of Delhi, as it states. Now, the question of tussle arises from the fact that after 8 years of litigation on this issue since 2015, the ordinance that has now been brought forward by the center does the exact opposite of what the judgment has held. So, what are the contents of this ordinance? Now, the ordinance forms a permanent National Capital Civil Service Authority. Now, this National Capital Civil Service Authority shall be headed by the Chief Minister as the chairperson, and then the Chief Secretary and the Principal Home Secretary shall be the member and the member secretary in this body. Now, the NCCSA will exercise authority over civil service officers working in all Delhi government departments except those in public order, police, and land. And this body will be made to decide transfers, postings, prosecution sanctions, disciplinary proceedings, and vigilance issues and other issues of civil service officers who have been deputed to Delhi government departments. So, why is this NCCSA under the microscope? Now, the ordinance puts back the lieutenant governor back in the commanding position where he could veto the chief minister. So, what happens is basically under this NCCSA, the entire matter of transfers, postings, then prosecution sanctions, as we just discussed, all of this would be decided on the basis of simple majority. And then we have the chief minister as the chairperson of this body. But if it is just a question of simple majority, he could easily be vetoed out. Even if he is not vetoed out, we still have the lieutenant governor who gets to decide in case there is an impasse reached. Hence, it is the lieutenant governor who sits at the commanding position with rights that far exceed what the chief minister can exercise. Now, the ordinance does not heed the president's own transaction of business rules of the government of National Capital Territory of Delhi 1993. Further, the entirety of the ordinance is based on the argument that Supreme Court has itself acknowledged the superior authority of the Parliament to make laws for the national capital. However, if this is the argument that we are going forward with, we must also take into consideration that the court had agreed that while Delhi is not a full fledged state, it is a union territory after all, its legislative assembly is constitutionally entrusted with the power to legislate upon the subjects in the state and the concurrent list. Now, the 2023 ordinance may be challenged again in front of the court, and further litigation might follow, even after the continuous political clashes and the litigation drama that happened over 8 years. Further, we must also remember that in the case of DC Wadhwa versus the state of Bihar, a constitution bench had held that the power of executive to promulgate an ordinance should not be perverted to serve political ends. With this, we move on to the news updates for the day. Firstly, we have Prime Minister Modi unveils Mahatma Gandhi bust in Hiroshima. The Mahatma Gandhi bust has been gifted by the government of India to the city of Hiroshima as a symbol of friendship and goodwill between India and Japan on the occasion of the visit of the Prime Minister for the G7 summit. The 42 inches tall bronze bust has been sculpted by Padma Bhushan awardee Sri Ram Vanji Sutar The location has been chosen as a mark of solidarity for peace and non-violence. If you actually think about it, Hiroshima is probably one of the most significant places in the world which goes forward and speaks the language of love, peace, and non-violence. Next up, we have Center promulgates ordinance to constitute National Capital Civil Services Authority, as we were just talking about. Now, the authority will recommend the transfers and postings of all Group A officers and officers of Delhi, Andaman and Nicobar, Lakshadweep, Daman and Diu, Dadra and Nagar Haveli Civil Services, DANICS, serving in the government of National Capital Territory of Delhi. The authority consists of Chief Minister of Delhi, who shall be the ex officio chairperson of the authority, Chief Secretary and Principal Home Secretary of NCT of Delhi as members and member secretary respectively. All matters shall be decided by a majority of votes of the members present. And as we discussed in the editorial article earlier, in case of an impasse, it is the Lieutenant Governor who gets to say the last word. Next up, we have the Times Group splits. The promoters of Bennett Coleman and Co., or what is better known as the Times Group, have reached a settlement to split the media conglomerate's assets. Since the print business of the Times Group is larger in terms of revenue, Vineet, who gets his share in the broadcasting business, shall also receive a cash compensation of rupees 3,000 crores to balance out the partition. So we have center plans to make Chhattisgarh's Gevra Asia's largest coal mine. The center plans to increase the capacity of the Gevra mega project in Chhattisgarh of southeastern coalfields from 50 million ton of coal production in a year to 70 million tons, making it Asia's largest coal producing mine in Asia. The Gevra mega project is currently on the largest coal producing mine in the country and is in the second position in the Asia Pacific region. Next up, we have the SAHAS portal, which has been launched by the Telangana Home Minister. SAHAS, which means courage, is a program that aims at strengthening the support ecosystem for women who face workplace sexual harassment. Under the initiative, the SAHAS microsite, SAHAS Sathi chatbot, and SAHAS WhatsApp number forum and online support facilities were launched in Hyderabad. Next up, we have Vaghsheer, Indian Navy's final Kalvari-class submarine begins sea trials. Vaghsheer is scheduled for delivery to the Indian Navy in early 2024 after completion of these trials. The submarine was launched on April 20, 2022 from the Kanhoji Angar West Basin of Mazgaon Dock Shipbuilders Limited. The commissioning of Vaghsheer comes at a crucial time as China has been expanding its presence in the Indian Ocean region, highlighting the strategic importance of bolstering India's naval strength. Now, if you come to think of it, why is China bolstering its strength in the Indian Ocean? Uh, it would be well to remember that the most of the ports of Sri Lanka have been given to China as security for the loans that Sri Lanka has received from China. And hence, it is because of this reason that China gets the opportunity to occupy the ports of Sri Lanka and then, embolsten it with its own navy. Next up, we have highest preterm births in India, according to an UN report. There were an estimated 13.4 million babies born preterm in 2020, with nearly 1 million babies succumbing to the preterm complications, according to WHO reports. The global preterm birth rate increased to 9.9% in 2020 compared to a 9.8% in 2010. India has the highest number of estimated national preterm births in 2020, with 3.22 million, accounting for more than 23% of all preterm births worldwide. Next up, we have the Golden Years New Book by Ruskin Bond. Indian author Ruskin Bond wrote a book titled The Golden Years: The Many Joys of Living a Good Long Life. The book is published by HarperCollins India and released on 19th May 2023, Bond's 89th birthday. It focuses on Bond's experience during the 60s, 70s, and 80s. In the book, Ruskin Bond shares his thoughts on the joys and challenges of old age, as well as his advice on how to make the most of the golden years. In the international news segment, we have firstly Arab League summit in Jeddah adopts the Jeddah Declaration. Now, this declaration focuses on fostering Arab unity and addressing various regional challenges. An important highlight of this summit was the unanimous decision to readmit Syria to the Arab League, which was met with enthusiasm from the participating leaders. The Jeddah Declaration also reaffirms the Arab League's commitment to the Arab Peace Initiative, which seeks to find a comprehensive and fair resolution to the Palestinian Israeli conflict. Next up, we have Greece's ruling conservatives win the parliamentary election. Now, despite the win, they might have won the election, but they have fallen short of the threshold needed to form the government. The Prime Minister, K. Mitsotakis, who's also the exiting Prime Minister, has announced that his party has secured a thumping win in the elections, but hinted that they will wait for another election to secure absolute majority and not opt for a coalition government. The President of Greece, in the meanwhile, will approach each of the three parties to form a coalition government. In case that doesn't happen, he will elect a government that will only help in carrying out the next election until one particular party with a clear majority to form the government appears. Thirdly, we have International Day for Biological Diversity. Now, every year on the 22nd of May, the world marks the International Day for Biological Diversity to increase understanding and encourage the preservation of the Earth's diverse ecosystems. The theme for 2023 is From Agreement to Action, Build Back Biodiversity. Now, the origin of this day can be traced back to the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, commonly referred to as the Earth Summit, which took place in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil in 1992. For the legal updates today, we have no adverse observations against judicial officers without a due opportunity. The Supreme Court has reiterated. So the apex court in the case of Ashwini Vijay Shriyannavar versus the state of Karnataka and others reiterated that orders making adverse observations with regard to the manner in which a judicial officer has exercised discretion in any matter should not be made without reasonable opportunity being given to the person concerned whose career and esteem shall be affected. So this was all for today. For free study materials and TNA PDF slides, please join our Telegram channel, the link of which you can find in the description given below, or you can scan the barcode that is given on your screen. Also, don't forget to subscribe us on YouTube to stay up to date with the thorough newspaper analysis that comes out every day. Thank you.